You have to learn how to prioritize what needs to be prioritized. Everything is not the best thing in a different season. Some things may be good things, but they're not God things in a season. Some things may be good things and even God things, but they're not the thing that He wants you to do right now. It's for later. And so I had to prioritize. Whew, it's been a long time since I've done this. If you are in a space where you're feeling confused about your purpose at the top of the year, maybe it's like you're feeling like you got so many things to do and you're not feeling like you're very productive, or you don't really know which direction to move in, or even if you feel stuck and fearful, I want you to kind of tune in today and hear my story, and I hope that I can help you to move ahead. So when I first started this channel, I was like a stay-at-home mom. I was in a season where I was at home. I was building up my marriage. I was working with my kiddos and learning their personalities, learning how to be a mom to all of our children. And I was like going hardcore in the local ministry. I felt an urge in my spirit to come online and share about the things of the Lord. And so I followed that. And that's kind of how my channel was birthed. I went through a very hard labor and delivery with my daughters, and I actually almost died on the table. And because the Lord saved my life, I vowed that I would give my life back to Him. And so when I was called to work, and that's a whole nother testimony in and of itself, but it looked like I was going to need to go back to work. I asked God to give me a job that had an eternal weight of glory. I didn't want to work every day doing something that I felt like wasn't for Him or wasn't ministry. So I graduated from Michigan State University back in the day. I don't even want to say when because it was so long ago, but I graduated back in the day from Michigan State University with my degree in English and Spanish. And so I put that to use and started working in the field of education, doing various roles. About 6 or 7 years ago, I got the opportunity to work at a private Christian school. So this is like the Lord had called me back into education. I did like maybe a 3 or 4 month stint. And then right after that, the Lord opened up the door for me to do private Christian education. And I was like, okay. It was in an urban community, which is like so crazy. And I absolutely loved it. And it was everything that I wanted in the space that I wanted. And I have worked in that space ever since. I have gone on a journey there. I started out as a teacher, which I will always be a teacher. I love education. But the Lord promoted me to assistant principal about maybe 3 or 4 years in, and I've actually been serving as full principal for the last 2 years. I've also gone back to school, grabbed all my degrees, got my graduate, my master's in ed leadership, and so I just allowed the Lord to do that. But it's important to note that in this process, I never really saw any of these things for myself. Like, I had a different plan for my life, and the Lord has brought me to this place. I'm not going to say against my will, but I will say it was His will for my life. And so there were some things about, and there are things about the early seasons of my life that I really miss. Like, I miss the days that I got to spend with the Lord. I missed, the moments of just laying before Him in His presence. And that changed for me. There were some things that I had to let go of in order to get to this place. And that's what I want to encourage you with today. I have 3 things that I want to share with you. The first thing I want to share with you is that you can have everything, but you can't have it all at once. I want you to know that balance is a fallacy. In our mind, sometimes we think that, there's going to be this perfect juggling act and I'm going to be able to do everything that I want to do. And so we're striving for this perfect balance. What I have learned is that it's more like seasons. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes 3, to everything there is a season and a purpose under the heaven. I had to learn to let go and allow God to do a new thing in a new season instead of driving myself crazy trying to be the person that I was in this season. I had to allow God to evolve me. And so there was a season where I was cooking everything. I was learning. I was doing everything from scratch. I was like, providing my children with the most nutritious foundation. And I was learning those things. That's the season that I was in. God had called me to build my home. I was focused on building a strong relationship with my husband and trying to show up as a stepmom to balance all of these things. And that was the season that I was in. Am I in the kitchen in this season making collard greens and, scratch cornbread and doing that? I wish I was, but I'm not. The truth is now that's a luxury that I get during the holidays. I get the opportunity to do it and it's great. We cherish it even the more, but I had to let that go. I can't do it like I used to do it. Another thing that I had to shift was this channel. And so even though I loved and adored the work that was coming here, and I never felt for 1 minute like I was done with the work here, I knew I needed to pause it. Why? Because the Lord had put opportunities before me that I knew were from him, and it was going to require everything of me to do what he asked me to do well. And so I started trimming away the excess, because I refuse to get on here and waste people's time. I refuse to get on here for the sake of getting on here. When I come on here having already talked to God about coming on here. Okay. I had to make some really, really, really hard decisions about a year and a half ago, about what was going to align me with the purpose that God had for my life. God gave me clarity about what I should be doing. So I knew that I needed to focus on this job. And I also knew that God was calling me to a training season. And so I released a lot of things and I prioritized what he was putting before me and the doors that he was opening for me. And so I really just put my nose down to the ground, y'all. I kept him as my number one, kept my devotion time with him as my number one, even though what it looked like shifted for the season. I didn't have all the day long like I used to have when I was a stay-at-home mom to connect with him, but I did learn to keep him first. And so I have a very early morning rise routine. I'm up most days at 4. Shamefully in my graduate program, I was up even sometimes earlier than that, depending on what was needful for me. But I am proud to say that when I graduated my program, I graduated with a 4.0. I never got less than that. And that's to the glory of God, because I put my all into it and I wanted to suck everything out of it that I needed to suck out of it. And I wanted to make sure that I was honoring him. And so my rhythms changed. I woke up, I was talking to him, and I learned, instead of just having like these devotion times, my life became a devotion time. Like I literally learned to commune with God for everything and in everything. The second thing and it's kind of connected to the first, is that in the seasons that you're entering into, you have to learn how to prioritize what needs to be prioritized. Everything is not the best thing in a different season. Some things may be good things, but they're not God things in a season. Some things may be good things and even God things, but they're not the thing that he wants you to do right now. It's for later. And so I had to prioritize. So what are some things that are going to always be things that need to be prioritized? I will never drop my children. Like that's a non-negotiable for me. What they are going to become matters. Like they're staying in ballet. They do all the things. They have student government. They are in tap. They are piano. They're doing all these things. And those are all things that I prayed for the opportunity to be able to provide my child with. I am particular about who my children are with and where they go. I don't have a lot of babysitters. So my husband and I, we had to create rhythms to get it done. Like, there is never a time where you're going to be released from taking care of your children when they need you. No, that is the assignment that God has given you. And when they are young is the season for you to show up for them. Like, that matters. Like, put them first. Like, they need you and God gave them to you. That's the gift that he placed in your hand, and you need to be a good steward over it. If you steward that thing well in the future, that might be the catalyst to the other things that you set to the side. Come on, somebody. So focus on the things that God has placed before you in this season. What is God giving me to do right now? And so for me, yeah, my kids, that's a priority. My marriage, always going to be a priority. Like, yes, I'm going to care about what my husband cares about. I'm going to show up for him when he needs me to show up for him. Like, I am going to be there for him, and I will be there for our big kids. But if I got to slide stuff to the side, I love my family, and my family is the gift that God has given me. And so, making room for them was something that was a non-negotiable. And I knew that putting them to the side was never going to be the will of God for me as a woman of God. That's my first ministry. And so having those pieces in place, and then saying, okay, obviously, this promotion is a priority. Like, this is something that I knew he wanted me to do. And one of the ways that I knew that God wanted me to do it was because there was so much warfare, like, around the promotion. Like, when the promotion came, the devil came. I mean, it was just like warfare on every side. And the Lord sent multiple confirmations to let me know, baby, walk through the storm, because I am the God of the storm. I am in this storm. The devil is causing the storm, and I am in this storm, beckoning to you to come to me. And so I let everything else go to the side, and I walked out to the Lord by faith, trusting him. And I knew without a shadow of a doubt that he was calling me to this, and that this was a part of the destiny and the future that he had for me. And in that, the Lord has done really great things that I can't wait to testify about in my life, and not only in my life, in the lives of those who I am connected to and who are co-laborers with me in that work. And so that is also a part of my life that I'm looking forward to sharing more of. I usually keep everything separate. I feel like the Lord just kind of forced me to kind of share more of the whole picture of who I am. I feel the leading of the Spirit to do that. And so I'm looking forward to bringing that part of what I do into this space, because it is still ministry, and it is very, very important work that I know is going to help somebody. And so for me, I prioritized my family. I prioritized this call that the Lord had. And this is the last thing that I want to share with you on this topic, is that I minimize the negative voices and the access that people had to me. And the Lord began to deal with me very clearly on this. Also in the midst of the seasons changing and shifting, and the promotion and all of that I needed to safeguard my mind through what I was hearing, and not allow people access. This is partially how I was able to hear his voice more clearly, through my seeking him, through my prayer life, and through my reading of the word. And so if you are in a space where you're confused, I would encourage you to minimize the amount of voices that you're hearing. We are in a time where we are literally inundated with voices, whether it's just like we're listening to audiobooks all the time, or we're listening to podcasts, or whatever. It's like information overload. And prioritizing reading your Bible, keeping that piece consistent is really the most important thing. Like, we can step into this web of hearing everybody else's voice but God. Making sure that I was prioritizing hearing the Lord's voice let me know whether or not the other voices even were God. And then when I determined that somebody's voice was contrary to what the Lord was saying, I eliminated it. Because in the work that I was getting ready to do, in the assignment that God had placed before me, it was going to require me to have faith. And so I was hearing a lot of words that were actually decreasing my faith, and I needed to be built up in my most holy faith. I needed to be built up in the things of the Spirit. I needed to be full of faith for the assignment that God had called me to do. And so I shifted and I changed who had access to me. I shifted and I changed what I was listening to and who I was listening to, because I was in a new season. And so that was a very hard change for me. But when I tell you, it made all the difference in my mental health and my spiritual health. Like, I mean that. It was how the Lord prepared me for battle, which is something that I am going to share with you a little later, what the Lord gave us as the theme for this year. And so, which is the year of victory. And so we were kind of on this journey, and I knew that my needs were different for me. And the Lord gave me that I needed to minimize the access that people had to me, and that I needed to, and that's why I just stopped posting. I stopped doing any of that. I started being even more careful. Y'all know I've always been careful about that, but I became even more careful about what I was looking at online. I stopped caring on who was mad. If I don't like your post, I didn't care. I don't have time to be doing that. I don't have time to be caring about that. I needed to be free from that. And so online and in social media and stuff like that, maybe I was there, maybe I wasn't there. I started being really picky about what I was listening to, really picky about what I was seeing on my feed, even more so. Anything that was combating, anything that was the enemy could use against me, those things that were coming back to me, I don't even care if it was like a movie, right, that had a negative message, or just something like, I can't. I was just like, positive movies only, like positive outcomes only, like people who are speaking positively only. And that's all I was willing to eat. And I'm still on that diet right now. So yeah, minimize the people who have access to you and negative influences. And then the last and final point that I would use to help you if you're in a stuck season is to encourage you to trust God enough to rest. Trust God enough to rest. And I am still mastering this one. I am not all the way there, but the Sabbath is real. And understanding that you can't work hard enough to make the vision that God has for your life come to pass. Like, it's not in you. You don't have enough. You can't do it on your own. You could go and go and go, and it still may never happen. Like, when we rest, we put our faith and trust in God in saying, I am human. I can only do what I can do. Lord, I trust you to do the rest. It takes faith in God to set aside, right, your agenda. We trust him enough to rest. We trust him enough to do what he's telling us to do in a certain season. We trust him enough to do what we can do, and then believe that he's going to do the rest. We don't lose hope when it doesn't look like it's not happening fast enough, but we trust him. We trust his timing. We trust his season. And we know that in due season, we will reap if we faint not. So you're not going to have enough in yourself that he just requires you to have seed for him, the faith the size of the grain of a mustard seed, and then he's going to cause that thing to grow up into a mighty tree. It is through him and his power. And so, Lord, we trust you, and I would encourage you, if you are in a season where you are tired and you are overrun and you got bags under your eyes and you're angry and you're bitter and you're stressed and you're pressed, I would encourage you to rest. I would encourage you to follow the stuff that I've said, to prioritize, but then also rest. Rest. Okay? He mandated it. He wants you to rest. Give it to the Lord. He's more than able. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. It's been a long time since I've done this, and this felt really, really good. I'm looking forward to connecting with you. I look forward to praying together. I look forward to communing with you. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to all the things that God wants to do in this space. What I can't promise is perfection. I can't promise that, though it is the desire of my heart, that I will be here like super consistently, because the truth is that my life is really demanding. And so I'm gonna probably be a very free flowing person on the channel, which I feel like I've kind of always been, like in the car or here or there. But I do want to be here, and I look forward to being here. And you guys, there's so much to talk about. There's so much to pray about. There's so much work to be done. These spaces are so important because they edify us, they build us up, they sharpen us. And so I am excited to reconnect with you guys. I miss you so much. I hope that you were praying for me, because I was praying for you. And I hope that you haven't put me down, that you're gonna stay around and rock with me and my husband and my family in this new season. There is so much to come. So thanks for joining me. I didn't want to make this video too long, but I look forward to reconnecting with you soon. Mwah!